this video, the middle-aged nerds discuss spoilers from books they read decades ago. Do you really need a spoiler alert? Do you really?
Hi, I'm Glenn.
And I'm Bill, also known as Matt Steger.
And I'm Pieter.
And welcome back to Non-Terrestrial Half-Life. We're the YouTube show that reviews books that we first read in our youth, and we're rereading in the first half of our youth, and we're rereading them now and see how they hold up. This week, we've got our friend Pieter on again, the accidental actor. He's joining us from the Netherlands. You might hear some sound. There's a big festival going on around him right now, so we apologize if you hear any noise coming from him. We are continuing our reading of A Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn by Tad Williams this week with Book 2, Stone of Farewell. What did everybody think of this book?
Matt, you're the first.
Better than the first?
Yeah, I can agree. I think the pacing on this one was much better. It moved along a lot quicker. I think we're more at home with the characters, so I'm a little more invested in this book. So it didn't take as long to get into the first book. You know, it took a little while for it to get going. So,
Right.
yeah, I really enjoyed the pacing of this book in particular.
The pacing's good. As I mentioned to you earlier, I love this series, but I have one complaint with this book is it's two books in a row that we've got our main character wandering lone, lost, starving in the winter in the woods. And I'm just like, we just did that, Mr. Williams. Can we do something more? And thankfully we do get a lot more with Simon, but it was just, it was a little bit much. I'm glad I'm reading this in the summertime, not in the wintertime, because my brain would just start freezing because I would feel so cold reading it and living it, at the same time. But yeah, I really like this one a lot. I'm looking forward to the next one. So
Yeah, a very classic middle piece. It is setting up. Well, in the first book we had everybody set up, and now everybody's journey is continuing. And everybody is searching, and there are major plot points set up, but not entirely finished. Although I'm, in the end, very curious of Bill saw the end coming.
we'll see. I like that one of the mysteries of this book, this series has progressed a lot, and that's who the hell is Cadrak? And what did he do? And what is his history?
Yeah, what the hell is Cadrak is a better question.
Is Cadrak a good guy, a bad guy? Can we get over his past when we find out his past? What do you think of Cadrak, Bill?
Honestly, he extremely complex. Now that we got sort of a better idea, and I think there is a redemption in the offing. Will he accept? Take the steps for that redemption? I don't know, but I want him to. So that speaks grounds to, the kind of character that Tad Williams has written, that I want him to redeem himself. So no, I find him fascinating.
Cadrak is an interesting character. And I'll be honest, I don't remember everything about his past right now. So it's been a long time since I read these books. So I'm rediscovering a lot of this as we go on. It's got to be at least 20 years since I read these books.
Oh yeah, definitely. And he is one of the characters which is maybe evil and maybe good, but he is in that sense, a very gray character.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the potential for both, and I think that's what has me fascinated. Is this could go either way. It could go horribly wrong or extremely right. So I'll be interested to see which way it fully swings. My only complaint with the book is sort of the lack of agency for Miramel.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
I mean, she's basically Egwened and captured right off the bat and sort of handed from one person to another for the, and a little bit of that. I'm not going to lie. I was a little like, really, again? We're going to hand her off to somebody else again? Really?
Yeah.
So that was my one little nitpick that I had with the book, honestly. It was like, the sort of lack of agency she has in this book, because we know she's capable of so much more, that she's not the poor little heiress who's been kidnapped. She has potential to be awesome. And, you know, I'm really looking forward to the next book because I really want to see her sort of come into her own.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love about this series is we get, you know, and I've already said these are my favorite elves, but we get so much more than just the Scythe and the Norn. We've got the Neski and the Kilpa and the Dwellers,
Right.
and it just it's this vast what's the word I'm looking for? Ecology, I guess, of alienness that we have in this world. And that doesn't really have a lot of parallels in other fantasy, at least outside of the Scythe and the Norns being essentially elves. All these others just they're very specific to this world, and I'm fascinated by it, especially the Niski. But we'll get more of them as we go.
Yeah, we definitely we get something coming, Bill, but we're not talking about that because that would
Not
be
yet.
a genuine spoiler.
That's in the big giant book we read in a week.
Yeah,
2 weeks.
definitely.
Yeah, we're splitting that, right?
Yes, we are
No,
splitting to Green Angel Tower in half. I've got the chapter that his copy ends at, so we can know where to stop in audiobooks.
Awesome.
That's what, 60 hours? I think we found.
I think it's bigger than book 1 and 2 combined. So
Yeah,
I think so too.
yeah. It's a beast of a book. So Peter, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, it's the third book is very good, and one thing also there is in the second book. There's a lot of explaining about the world. You learn that the world building is more, at least in my impression, than in the first book, because there you have to introduce all the characters and well, the basic world, and here you extend, especially the world for the well, he listens to the grandmother, the story when he is passed out, which tells a lot about the what is it? What is their officially name? Because they're named.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah, I have a hard time with the names. I'm like haiku. No, that's the poem.
Kendra Chaharo is a hard one. You know, his Juriki's uncle, and then the name of the city that the Scythe live in, I can't pronounce. I can't even remember what it sounds like right now. I couldn't.
In the books we have pronouncing correct pronouncing chapters. Do you have that with listening book as well?
No, not that I've noticed. Not afterward or anything like that. Yeah, I have hard time with a lot of the pronunciation. The audiobook is helping, but unless I'm seeing it in writing at the same time, I'm having a hard time remembering some of these names, especially the Scythe names are just really hard. You know, some of the stuff like Isgrimnur, I just like the name Isgrimnur and Isbjorn. You know, of the Rimmersgard names, I have no problem. Especially Sludig.
Well, yeah.
Those names are pretty easy. It's those blasted city names that are just so hard. Yeah.
They cannot all be called the Hayhold. Come on.
Right?
Yeah, true.
So, do you remember, Peter, the first time you read this book? And how old you were?
I was, I think, early 20s, so that's 30 years ago.
Okay.
Yes, life is harsh. But I still remember that I basically cannot stop reading it. Once I started, and I have that again with this book, once you're sitting and you're reading, you're sort of, oh, do I have to go to bed? Nah, I can read another chapter. Yeah, perhaps not the wisest approach, but that is what I remember from the first time. And that there is not that much what they call nowadays a slog. There is a lot of to tell and to explain, but it is never at least for me, it was never hard to continue.
Right. I think the
Yeah,
hardest
no.
I had continuing anything was in book one when Simon's going through the passage when he's first fleeing, Priorities' attack on Morgani's tower, Morgani's rooms. I think that's the closest I've ever experienced to a slog in this trilogy myself. But
No,
you saying,
I
Will?
found myself repeatedly being like, oh, good, I have to go do this and do that. And I thought good because I can literally have my audiobook playing the whole time and just sort of go do what I got to do and listen at the same time. But I'm like, that's free time where I don't have to worry about anything else. I can pay attention to the book and,
Nice.
go do my errands. So,
It is nice to have things to do while you listen to the book. So, what are some of your memories of reading this the first time that, other than just, can I keep going? Was there anything that, any scenes or anything that stood out or anything as for you
Well,
your first time?
oh yeah, it's been a while, but that like I said, the continuing pace, the willingness to keep reading, and because that is a fun part of the first book and the second book and also the third. One chapter is not about one character. It is very much because that is something you see nowadays, that one chapter is very much about one or a group of characters which are together. While here you occasionally jump from one hotspot occasionally to the other because there's a lot of things happening together at the same
Yeah.
moment in time.
right.
And I think that is very good, very well brought. So I did not remember that actually from 30 years ago, but and that's the annoying thing because I already read it. I remember things while reading it, and then oh, I thought this was in the third book, and then at the end I thought, oh, I thought we should have had that in this and this and this, while oh, that's apparently in the third book. So yeah, that's a bit hard for me in that sense because it's so long ago.
Yeah, really easy for me. It was, 2 weeks ago. So,
Right. I'm trying to find the name of the city, the city place where Simon was kept and where he would be there, and I can't find it. Um, one of the memories I've always had that stuck in my head from reading this book was the way the city, and I hate calling it city because it's not, looked, with the sheets, hung up like sails and just all these brightly colored sheets scattered everywhere, tied to the trees and fluttering in the wind. It's just got to be beautiful.
it's J.E. Tanaki, Tukai, something like that.
Yeah.
JAE space E dash capital TINUK AI apostrophe I. So
Okay.
yeah, it's
Jiao
very
Tinuke or
difficult.
something like that. And
Yeah,
I
it's
actually think
very difficult
technically
to
those
pronounce.
apostrophes are supposed to be a guttural stop. So it's like in the back of your throat, like Ahmed. It's a guttural stop. And that just
Oh,
makes
the
it even harder.
sound.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I think this is the series that the apostrophe made that sound. I could be wrong on that. I'd have to look in the physical book again. Or Pieter sends us that pronunciation guide. So
Yeah, I'm looking for my guide to see if I can find that, but
that's
no, I
fine.
could not. Sorry.
Who would you say is your favorite character now? And for Pieter, it's going to be now and in the past. Bill, who was your favorite now in this?
Okay, yeah.
Now it's Joshua. I mean, I
Yeah.
absolutely love. Yeah, I absolutely love to sort of see him in action, see him with his people, and you sort of get the idea of why they're so loyal to him now. This book does a very good job of showing what kind of character he has, So I really enjoyed that character a lot. So his POVs were always, yes, it's my chapter. So when he would pop into the middle of a chapter, it's like, yes, let's get back to that. So I really enjoyed him as a character in this book. It's going to change book to book for me, depending on what they
Yeah.
do, so.
And it'll change reading to reading. You might read this in 10 years and
Yeah.
suddenly it'll be Cadrak for some reason. I doubt it, but you never know.
Well, like I said, I'm on
You
the
never
fence
know.
about him, so I don't know if he's going to be a favorite yet.
But how about you, for you, Peter? Who would you say your favorite character was and currently is?
In the past, it most likely was Simon. That is another way, because he is the main character which you focus on and where you go. But like the last book, I still like Islimur, which is good fun.
He's good. Nice fun.
And he is a how do you say that? The he is a comic relief, because in his grumpiness he does things to others which are occasionally a comic relief. So that's a good
especially when he punches I have a knife guy in the nose.
Yeah, that's
that moment.
Yeah,
just he's sitting there just clock. Oh, I'm feeling much better now. It's
thank you very much.
much less angry.
He very much is a necessary release valve. As you feel that pressure starting to build within the story, every now and then you get that sort of pressure dump from his character, which is awesome.
Yeah, but also how he basically at the end forces the is it called the sailor or the man who brings them to Kwanikupul at the end?
Whatever city.
Like that.
And the city.
He sort of forces him, and he knows he's being dubbed, and he's sort of blackmailed and all the humbug, and he goes right through it, and he doesn't believe it. It's obvious, but also it brings him relief. And there is, of course, the emotional release for him at the end, that he suddenly meets his hero again. That is a major reveal at the end, and that is for his character. That is quite a plot point.
Yeah, Chimeras is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a big moment.
It is a big moment. It brings us to probably my favorite character in this book, this reading. Previous readings, it was probably Benedict, because I just love Benedict. He's awesome. But I really, really love Tiamat in this story. His story of him trying to get, to Constantinople and everything, and his fight with the crocodile. That's just with a knife. He fought a crocodile with a knife over a fish, and he won. It messed him up, but he still won. He got that fish.
I'd say, I don't know if that's necessarily a win, but
he
we'll
survived.
Call it a draw. Yeah, but it's still a draw.
I don't know if that crocodile survived.
Neither of them are going to walk the same again. So
right, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, but he is, in that sense, he's an interesting character. But there's a number of characters like him. There is, the archetype in the story is, of course, Morganus. You have Deonot towards Joshua, who supports him. You have what's the lector's help? Damn it, what's his name? Father. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and he falls in that kind of characters. They do something which is major to the story, and he will. I think Tiamat will grow in still more in his role, while the others slowly but steadily fade away.
I think that'd be interesting. Right now, we have a glut of new people for me to sort of go, oh wait, which one was that one? So that's why I have so many notes, and I keep clicking over to my notes, going, wait, which one is that one? Okay, there they are. Okay, so but yeah, we kind of have a glut right now of new characters that have popped in, which is not a bad thing by any means.
All
But I
right, where
did
were
notice.
we? I asked them to
We're
move along.
we're just talking about, there was a lot of new characters in this book.
Yeah, a lot of new characters, and that's to be expected of the second book. You got to expand the cast. So learning all these new characters, yeah, you got to do that.
Well, I'm
Wasn't
kind of
as
anxious to see which ones matter in the third book because, like Peter said, I think there are going to be a number of them that fall away. Either
oh
they're sent
yeah,
off to do something or they die or whatever. But right now we have a huge cast, like a Wheel of Time book size cast,
it
and it's
feels
like,
like it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Who do you think's gonna die?
that's a hard one to say. I don't know.
You don't know.
Because I don't know if
Okay.
it's going to be obvious ones that I would immediately think of, or if this is going to be one of those, I know this inspired a Song of Ice and Fire, so I'm like, okay,
Yeah, that can
it's very
scare you.
possible that Simon is the first one to get taken out next book. So
Yeah,
I'm not, I'm not even making guesses. I'm like, anybody could die if this influences Song of Ice and Fire. So
yeah, it's influenced a lot. So let me see the next question is. What things had you forgotten, Peter, that you were pleasantly surprised at in this read?
Basically the story on the grasslands, the Trinsinger. How do you pronounce that?
Thrivingsman?
Yeah, I did not call that. The moment you start reading it, it comes back. But that I was aware that Joshua would survive it, but I barely remembered how. So that, and also the the passage towards the grassland, so through the forest and running away from the Norns, and the loss of, what was his name, Iskaldir, the Rimmersman, which got basically shot up
yeah,
by all the heroes
Yeah.
when they escape into, well, the mountain. That was completely gone. What
I know.
also, sorry?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll go after you. Go ahead.
And I was aware that, I remembered that Simon was going to that Sita City, but how he got there and his connection with what's her
A
name?
D2? A D2.
yeah, D2.
Was also something how she brought him there and what happens. And I knew something was happening at the end, but I didn't remember what. And there again is quite a lot of bit of world building for this series again. And then there is the short but sharp finale. I would put it that way. That I remember there was something coming, but I didn't remember what. So
The one that I'd forgotten all about was actually two separate little storylines back at the Hayhole. I forgot all about this stuff with Guthwolf, Elias's friend, who, and then with Rachel,
Right.
all the stuff with Rachel, the dragon. I had totally forgotten all of that happened there. Rachel tried to kill Pryrates, and that Gothwolf helped her, and she escaped. And I guess I love the fact that Rachel is such a part of this story. There's actually three characters that you in this book that you don't see a lot of in fantasy and science fiction, and that's the three old women. We've got Galoe or Jaloe, however you want to pronounce her, the witch woman, the Baba Yaga figure. We've got Rachel, the dragon, who's an older woman, maybe not grandmother or senior citizen age, but she's an older woman. And then you've got Isgrimner's wife, Gertrude or something like that. The
Yeah.
Duchess that's traveling with Joshua. And she's a very small part of the story, but Rachel is a significant part, and Jaloi is a significant part. And we just don't see old women in science fiction and fantasy that often. You know, we get old men, but I mean, outside of the Wheel of Time, where all the Aes Sedai are ancient, anyways, you don't really get a lot of old women in fantasy. I think that's cool that we got them, and they're important. And one even tries to kill the most evil, despicable person in the book, which that's cool.
Yeah, and that was also something I forgot. There was a knife in his bag. Oh wow!
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
and no problem whatsoever for that man. Okay, he
Yeah, he
must be.
shrugs it off. It's like, yeah, I
Yeah,
got plot armor. Get off me.
you know what I picture Priorities to look like?
okay.
Jeff Bezos. That's
Yeah.
what I picture in my head as Jeff Bezos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting one.
I don't know if that works for anybody else, but that's right now my head canon for how he appears. Just take those eyebrows off, and you got Jeff. You got Priorities. God, I hate Priorities with such a passion.
Well, you're supposed to. I mean,
yeah, you're supposed to. He is just so foul and so stupid.
Yes, definitely. He is one of the. In that sense, he's a very good villain.
he's very well written. I mean, he is written for you to hate his guts, and you hate his guts. So
from the moment he stomps on that dog, that puppy.
Yeah.
I mean, right there, you gotta hate him. You can't not hate a character like that. You know.
Well, I mean, look at the links they went through with John Wick to make him look sympathetic. You kill the dog, and everybody's like, "Oh, I'm on his side. Go ahead and kill everybody. I'm on his side."
Damn Theon Greyjoy.
Oh yeah, that's a comparison. Yeah.
All right, Bill. For you, what is that Peter and I talked about we'd forgotten and we remembered? Did any of those stand out for you as something to you? Did any of that stand out to you, or what did stand out to you as something that you were kind of surprised at?
Yeah, the grasslands at the end, absolutely. That really, that sort of hooked me for the next book automatically, because I'm like, ooh, I really got to see where this goes. So yeah, that stood out to me.
Yeah, there's a lot with the thriving skull, especially in the second trilogy that's out, or it's not even a trilogy anymore. I think it's a tetralogy. But the second series in Ostenard has a lot more with the thriving skull, which really surprised me when I was reading that a year or two ago. I didn't expect to go back to the thriving skull. Horse riding barbarians.
Well, you know how I feel about barbarians.
Yes, I know you like them. Let's see. How has your life experience changed your perspective on this story? Bill, for you, how do you think you would have reacted to this 20 years ago, 30 years ago? For me, I already mentioned my thing with, appreciating the three old women in the story. That's not something I would even consider 20, 30 years ago. Now, I wouldn't have thought about, representation of as many walks of life, in a story as you would find. So that's something that's. Well, we lost Bill, some technical difficulties. He'll be back as soon as he can. Until then, Peter and I are just going to continue until we get to the end or Bill joins us. So the question I'd asked was, how has your life experiences affected your perspective on this story? Has it changed?
Yeah, the thing is, 30 years ago, it was just a good story. And it is, and it is, and I think now you have much more eye for the point of view from the side characters, especially the somewhat elderly who have all kinds of worries, which you basically discard in your 20s. But now I'm somewhat older. You sort of, that's a thing. So in that sense, very well written.
And he wrote these
And
when he was young. You know,
yeah,
he was younger than he's young. He was younger when he wrote these than you and I are right now. I'm pretty
okay.
sure of that. Because he's only about 10 years younger than my parents. He's in
Oh,
his
okay.
late 60s, early 70s. So figure 30 years ago when he wrote these, he was younger than
Okay.
us.
Yeah.
I mentioned mine, my life experiences allowed me to, to be more more aware of these other characters, that don't get a lot of attention. And yeah, I like seeing the stuff from the side characters. I'm really fond of Sludig, and Benedict, the Sludig and Benedict relationship that's developing with the two of them, from what would normally have been enemies, a Rimmersgard and a Kanuk, and they're becoming friends. And if I remember correctly, I think that friendship solidifies even more over the next book.
Yeah, definitely. And what is also not unimportant, now you're saying that, and that was I was thinking, in that sense, not only Benebek and Suik, but also there is a Sinti and a Rimmersman killed during the fight in the dragon at the first book.
Yeah.
Also, more or less enemies. So it is a very early call for well, understanding of the other side and trying to find a bridge across, well, in these polarized worlds, both sides. And that is, in that sense, an interesting perspective, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because there is a growing understanding between what used to be enemies and initially were enemies. Because when Suk is brought to the Troll Town, or the mountain, he is put into the not into a cave, but in a, how do you call it, a hole in the ground.
Yep, a pit. With
And
Benedict.
they are willing to step over it once they read the document from the master of Benedict.
Yeah. I definitely think that's one of the things that I've done is I like more. I'm more aware of secondary characters.
Yeah, definitely.
And you brought up on a theme that's common in this book is developing friendships, and enmities being gotten rid of, but friendship is a big theme in this book. Were there any other themes that stood out to you other than friendship?
About Simon, it is also about getting from Simon to, well, being what was called the moon calf to slowly but steadily being a grown-up, somewhat.
Coming of age.
Yeah, exactly.
Simon's growing up. Simon has his first lustful moment, I think.
Definitely.
When he's physically attracted to Adidu, Jeriki's sister. And he found that kind of weird because she's not human, and
that's also.
So themes of friendship, growing friendship, coming of age, good versus evil,
definitely,
trust.
And
there's a lot of matter of trust.
Yeah.
For Miriam L, learning whether or not to trust Cadrak or to trust Aspides, that count who owns the ship that they're found on. Whether she should trust the Neski, Ganeda, or whatever her name is. All that. And there's also trust. You've got Elias trusting Priorities. On the bad guy's side, to some extent, he knows Priorities is trying to use him.
Yeah, exactly. But he doesn't trust.
I think he trusts him. He shows trust, but he doesn't trust.
Yeah. Okay.
He's letting him have his way, but not trusting him fully.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's a good description.
Let's see. Any other themes that you can come up with?
Well,
noticed?
maybe I was thinking about, but now you were saying the point you made about the three, grown-up women, I think is the better description. That is also something I was not thinking. I didn't notice it, but I think it is a fair point that they are, the sort of silent force in the background. In And that is also a point made in this book.
We got somebody coming in.
You mean the one between the bed and the door?
We'll see how this works. But as you were saying, here we go. Welcome back.
Back.
Red
Thanks.
light of death go away.
Yeah, blue now. Sorry about that. My internet just
Technical difficulties happen. Even for the big networks on TV, they have technical difficulties. So it happens.
Definitely.
We were discussing, we skipped question 7 about, we'll get back to that, what's aged well or not. But we were talking about themes in this book. And we were discussing friendship and the development of friendship is a big theme. Trust is a big theme. And coming of age for both Miriam L. and Simon are both coming of age in their own way.
Simon has some serious growth in this book. The first book he's very sort of cocky and moon-eyed.
Loon calf.
Yeah. Now, we begin to see the sort of mature adult start coming out here. Miramel, like I said, that one's kind of iffy for me.
She's on a course of coming of age, I should say.
Yeah, I'm completely annoyed at her lack of agency in this story. So that like I said, was my one nitpick, was her particular storyline. It just didn't feel like she had any agency in this particular book. So I'm hoping next book, like I said, we sort of see her break out.
Yeah, I do believe we do.
And I think her character. Oh, sorry, Glenn. Go ahead.
I do believe we do see her break out. I don't remember exactly how.
I'd like to see that. More of who she is and what she's capable of than, the damsel in distress, which is kind of her role in this book. And the first time it's like, okay, I get it. But then she keeps getting passed to somebody new and it's the same thing over again. And it's like, oh, come on, let my girl shine. Give her something.
Right.
Yeah. No, but I think it is also a sign of the times when it was written, because then it was expected, damsel in distress. And in that, well, the question we were about to be going is, what did age wrong? So that's why I hang in on that. In this book, that is one of the things. I think if the book would be written nowadays, that her character would have get more to do and less damsel in distress. Definitely.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
That's the one that's one thing that hasn't aged well is, her plight. It's not quite how we would see it written today. If this was written now, I don't think Bill's complaint of her not having agency would be there anymore.
Probably not. I kept thinking of Egwene because, the Wonder Girls and the Wheel of Time are, one of them is constantly, it's usually Egwene getting kidnapped, getting knocked out. Something is always like that is happening. And, you're like, okay, come on. We understand. We don't need to do this every book. They did it like 5 times in this book, which was just like, okay, enough.
That's enough. That's enough.
Yeah.
Anything else that you would say was problematic or would be problematic today? I can't really think of much. I mean, other than this agency issue with Miriam L. Ted Williams wrote a book that aged pretty well.
Yeah, overall, I'd say the book has aged just fine. Like I said, that's a nitpick. The whole thing about Miriam, I get why it's there, and it didn't by any means was it a bad experience for me. That was just my one little nitpick that I had.
Wait, with the book, were you being pedantic?
Yes.
Okay, you were pulling a Glenn. That's fine.
Yeah, I was pulling a Glenn.
So, anybody else have anything else they want to bring up about this book?
I'm just really looking forward to the next one. Like I said, the way they left off, I'm pretty hooked. So
Yeah. In that sense, we have a happy ending with Simon getting back to his friends.
Yes.
So in
Yeah.
that sense, maybe that's my European style. I thought that very American, the happy ending. I thought, well,
well,
Americans do like a happy ending
definitely.
most of the time.
most of the
Uh,
time.
I would not have mind if they ended with the dog fight in the that tree, and then with the that get burned and all the butterflies who get
Oh,
burned. Oh man,
Yeah.
that's
Ingen
one.
Jinger.
Yeah, definitely.
I was so
And
happy to see the end of Ingen Jagger. I
that
kind of felt for him, because that's just where he was raised. Being in an abusive environment where he was raised, he had a shitty life, but he's still a pretty nasty son of a bitch.
he is a nasty
He is.
character, definitely.
Yeah, he's not by any means sympathetic. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, dude, you're a horrible, horrible, horrible person.
And
Yeah.
does anybody have an idea where the Hound's helmet came from in A Song of Ice and Fire? Right here, Ingen Jagger. I think that's an image that really stuck in George R.R. Martin's head, is that helmet, the snarling hound helmet.
You can see why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it sticks in the head. Well, I
Yeah.
think that's a wrap for this book, guys. Peter, as always, thank you for joining us. And Bill, as always, thank you for doing this channel with me. It wouldn't happen without you. I appreciate it. Thank you guys at home for watching. Please leave us a like, subscribe, and some comments. Tell us where we're wrong. Tell us where we're right. Just leave us some comments. We'd appreciate it. Hear what you guys think of this book. And come back in a couple weeks as we do part 1 of 2 Green Angel Tower. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to be awesome.
See ya.
Bye.